So today's video and case is going to be over that of Madeleine McCann, and it's kind of crazy that I'm filming it today because I've been putting this off for a couple of days just because I didn't feel like I had enough information for you guys. I needed to research it a little bit longer, and last night they actually came out with their the parents of Madeleine actually came out with a new statement, so that makes this video a little bit more interesting considering the time of the disappearance of Madeleine was in 2007. So to start off, their family went on a vacation for about a week in Portugal, and her parents, Madeleine's parents, had two other children. They were twins. They were younger than her. I believe they were between a year and a year and a half old, and Madeleine was 3, just a couple days shy of turning 4. And here is a picture of her. This is actually the last picture that was ever taken of her by the pool at vacation. And her parents are known as Jerry and Kate McCann. And this is a picture of their parents, of Madeleine's parents, and they are both doctors. So to make this story super condensed for you guys while still giving you the information, there were 3 other couples, and I could state and list the names of the couples, but whenever I watched other documentaries and videos, I felt like that made it just a little bit confusing for myself. So I'm going to refer to them as couple B, C, and D. So couple A is obviously Jerry and Kate McCann, the mother, the parents, the father of Madeleine, but couple B, C, D is going to be the other couples that went on this vacation with them. You can look up their names, you can look up documentaries on them if you guys think that that's necessary, or if you want to get more information on this case, I definitely urge you to do so. Make this short, simple, and sweet. Every single night, the parents would go to a tapas bar, and the tapas bar was inside the resort, and the resort had like townhome apartment kind of things, and I'll go ahead and throw up a picture so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. These apartments were accessible from public, so the apartments weren't exactly confined into the resort. They were right outside the pool, and you had to go into a gate, and so you could get into the resort through your balcony, through your sliding glass door area, but there was also 2 other entrances, a side entrance and a front entrance, in which the public could access this. So this makes it this is a very like important note in the case. Every single evening, the parents would go to a tapas bar after they would lay their children down for bed, and they would eat dinner, and every single one of the couples would switch off every 30 minutes, and they would go check on each one of their kids. And when first researching this case, I thought they were sharing a room. Like, I thought they had a large, like, room in which all of the couples and kids were staying, but that, however, is not true. Madeleine McCann and her 2 twin siblings were in one apartment, as to where couple B, couple C, couple D all had children, and they were all in different apartment complexes. And there are actually photos where they label which apartments they're in. I don't think that's necessary to show for this video, but I do think it's necessary to know. So every 30 minutes they would switch off, and this is where the timeline becomes a little important. Around 9 p.m. Jerry went and checked on his kids, and like I said, I don't think that the names are that important. So Jerry went and checked on his children at 9 p.m. At 9:30 Matthew went and checked on his kids, and at 10 p.m. Kate went and checked on her kids. And at 10 p.m. this is when Kate actually seen, on her way to the apartment, she actually seen a man carrying a child in pajamas, and she didn't think much of it because they're on vacation. She figured they were tired, you know, and this child was blonde with pink pajamas, and that is what Madeleine McCann was wearing. So this was like a huge lead in the case once they realized that Madeleine was had disappeared, and they actually confirmed years later that this was a man picking up his child from a daycare center that they offered at the resort, which is something else I want to bring up. I don't know why they offered a daycare center at the resort and the parents didn't take advantage of that. I don't know why you would be leaving a 3-year-old and 2 twin infants in an apartment complex alone. I know they were only like the length of the pool away, but I still find that incredibly irresponsible, and that is my own opinion. You guys form your own opinions, but that is just my personal opinion. So I think that when Kate seen this child, she didn't think much of it. So when I was saying Kate, that's Madeleine's mom, I actually completely mixed up the names and I meant to say Jane. So Jane is the one who seen a child being carried, not Kate. Kate actually went to go check on her kids at 10 p.m. and that was when she noticed that the door was slightly open more than what she left it. And she peeked in, seeing that the children were being quiet, asleep, and she went to go shut the door. And when she shut the door, it slammed. And I'm sure you guys have had this happen. When a door slams, that means there's usually a window or a door open somewhere, suggesting that something else in the house is open because it caused a draft. Now, when this happened, this alarmed her, and she opened the door back up and realized that Madeleine wasn't in her room. And she thought, okay, maybe she woke up and was looking for us in our room. I'll go check in our room. She went and checked in the bedroom that her and her husband were staying in for the evening, and she realized that Madeleine wasn't there. And that is when panic started to sink in. And she, I don't know if she ran back to the table or what, but she found the, yeah, she did actually. She left the apartment and ran to the others, and the main thing that she said was, they've taken her. So that's also like very like red flag that you would say they've taken her, not Madeleine's missing, not I can't find Madeleine, just they've taken her, is very controversial because that is the only line that she said. And also, if you really believe that someone has just taken your almost 4-year-old child, why would you leave 2 infants in their pack and plays alone in an apartment that was potentially just robbed and kidnapped your child? So that definitely throws red flags up for me, and I think that I'm very mixed on this case. Like, normally I have a very, very strong opinion on who I think did it, what I think happened, and this case is one of those cases where I am just kind of left baffled and dumbfounded from how much evidence there are on both sides. But to give you guys a little bit more details, the parents were told by Portugal police not to go on the news, not to get the media exposure, because if this was a robbery gone wrong, if this was a kidnapping, if this did have foul play in any shape or form, then the first 48 hours of a missing person, as you guys know if you research these, is so extremely crucial, and that could pressure the person who kidnapped them, knowing that people are looking for them, to potentially end this child's life. And the younger a child is, I also want to note, the more chance that they are alive. So it's more chance that someone who wants to be a mother, someone that can't be a mother, someone that wants to have a child, someone that wants to sell someone into sex trafficking, all of those horrible, awful motives for stealing a child, the younger they are, the more likely they are to survive. And I feel like at 3 years old, almost 4, this was like a potentially, I feel like if it was a robbery gone wrong, Madeleine might have woken up and seen him or them or whoever it was, and so they took her. I also feel like if it was to come and snatch a child, I was wondering, you know, like if it was like a mom trying, like they couldn't get a kid and had been trying and they wanted to steal someone. There was 2 babies there. So I feel like if it was like a mom trying to steal a child, they probably would have stole one of the infants. Less likely to scream, less like, you know, they might cry, but I just feel like that's more likely. Like, again, like I said, that is my opinion. But so honestly, there's a lot of theories in this case, and the theories are, number 1, that the parents did it. And the reason that a lot of people think this is because, of course, Kate said they've taken her, and that was super alarming for her, and also for her to just leave her kids in the room. The other 2 children, who were even younger, seemed a little bit extra irresponsible, on top of the fact that they brought in 2 sniff dogs in 2010 or 2013, so 3 to 5 years after the disappearance, and the dogs actually were specially trained canines, and one of them was trained to sniff out blood, and the other was trained to be a cadaver dog, so it would sniff out dead bodies or where a dead body had been. Whenever they took these 2 dogs into the apartment, they both found hits on the bedroom closet, which is super alarming. If you're me and you believe in science and you believe in cadaver dogs, these dogs are so insanely smart. They're so intensely trained, and that's really all they spend their life doing. And these dogs, actually, I looked it up, had never been wrong before. Literally had never been wrong. So it's really hard for me to argue with science. They actually also ended up hitting another place, which happened to be the trunk of the Mccan's family vehicle. And this could both just be extreme coincidences, like maybe there was a murder in that apartment complex before, maybe the rental car had a dead body in it before, but the fact that that would be more of a coincidence than just someone coming in and just taking Madeleine, I feel like it's less of a coincidence for Madeleine to be taken than for two different dogs trained for two different things, hit two different spots. That, to me, is just very damning evidence, but it was actually thrown out because there was no motive. And you guys know, if you have evidence and no motive, you really don't have much. So having that much evidence and no motive didn't really suffice for police and the court. And they actually have closed the case, from what I know. Her parents were still diligently looking for her, but another odd thing is they spent upwards of $1 million or something like that, close to that amount of money, to pay off their mortgage. So they took everything that they made from Madeleine missing and paid off their mortgage. And I don't think this is right. I don't agree with that at all. But again, it's a personal opinion. They were both doctors, and there's a theory that they accidentally overdosed their children on cough medicine, because Madeleine had actually woken up the night before her disappearance. The morning of her disappearance, she had woken up the night before, and she told her parents at breakfast in front of all the couples, when we were crying last night, why didn't you come and find me? And that kind of set off even more red flags. Of course, I don't think that the parents would necessarily volunteer that information if they were the ones who did and are the reason that Madeleine is gone. But at the same time, I'm not sure exactly if one of the couples were the ones to say that and reveal that information, or if it was the parents to come out and say that. But it also leads me into another theory, which is that Madeleine woke up and just kind of let herself out of the room and wandered off, and then was, you know, in the middle of the wrong people, or was found by the wrong people, or was picked up by someone. And that is a pretty probable theory. However, upon looking in the room and looking at the room, the window was open. So the window had been opened, and there were actually in the prior 3 weeks, there had been 2 burglaries in that exact block that they were staying on. And there was a lot, and I mean 6 to 7 sightings of 2 blonde men, and there was a sighting of them sitting on this, or talking on this balcony, and this balcony was connected to an apartment that had not been rented out. So no one really knew what they were doing there. No one really knows if they were the robbers, if they, were robbing things, if they were trying to find a child or not. And on their mailbox right outside of their door, the Mccans had a little box, and in the box there was a piece of paper that said, every night at 8:30, this table is at the Tapas bar is reserved for the Mccans. And so honestly, everything is perfect for someone to plan. They'd been there a week, they did the same thing every night. Someone could have witnessed how many children they had, someone could have witnessed when they laid them down, their time frame, every 30-minute intervals. And I do want to mention, it wasn't like the Mccan children were being checked on every 30 minutes. They were being checked on between intervals of every 30 minutes, because they were all different children. So therefore, couple B, couple C, and couple D would check on their children every 30 minutes. So it would alternate. So that's an hour and a half, 2 hours before you're checking on your children, which again is very irresponsible and I do not agree with. So the third theory, or the last theory, is that, it kind of just ties into everything else about, her wandering off, is that she was taken from her room. Now, they could have easily set up this room, the parents, to look like Madeleine had been taken, and I really don't know exactly what I believe. I don't want to hold the parents accountable, and one of the reasons is because Kate and Jerry had tried for 5 years to have Madeleine. She was an angel child. She was a rainbow child. She was the first of years and years of trial and error and attempts and just longing and wanting for a baby. So I just don't understand why they would have gotten rid of Madeleine by choice. Maybe they did it by accident. Of course, some people say, you know, it was an accident and they tried to cover it up. They tried to drug their children so that they wouldn't wake up the next night. And I find this hard to believe because they are doctors, so they would know the recommended amount, the right amount in order to give a 3-year-old, almost 4-year-old child to fall asleep and not overdose her. So I just feel like that's really hard to believe that they accidentally overdosed her and tried to cover it up. I feel like it was either 1000% on purpose or truly just a robbery, kidnapping, sex trafficking, foul play kind of scenario. And I'm having a really hard time here because obviously Madeleine was never seen. She was never found. She hasn't been found. There has been no clues. It is 2018 and, you know, she disappeared in May of 2007, which is a whole 11 years, and parents just released last night the statement that I was talking about in the beginning of this video. They released a statement saying that they're basically shutting down her website. Her mother said that she cannot keep up with it, and there's certain things that she can't follow through with, and just kind of didn't make sense on the reason that she stopped it. I mean, the mother just blamed the reason for stopping the website on personal issues, and I find this as another red flag. I don't think that you would be keeping up a website for 11 years and then all of a sudden decide to stop whenever you've had that much work and that much time into it and you're still diligently trying to find your child. I don't know why you would shut the website down unless you've actually just been trying to put on an act for 11 years. So I do think that I lean a little bit more towards the parents doing it. They were actually suspects for a whole year, and then they were no longer suspects. I'm pretty sure the case is closed. I did read something that said if the case was reopened, the parents would not be cleared as suspects. Just right now, they're not active suspects, considering like the case isn't open. I don't really know. I do know that they are still looking for Madeleine. I'm going to throw up an age progression picture next to an old picture on the screen. If you guys, I know I had a lot of international viewers. We're in the Portugal area of May 2007. You know, if you were at the end of April, beginning of May 2007, if you were at this resort around this time, if you've seen anything weird, if you remember anything, definitely make sure that you contacted the correct police department. I always make sure to put the right number in the description box. That's usually all I have in the description on these videos, these cases, because that's really the only reason in making these, is bringing awareness and to hopefully maybe reach just one person that knows something or that's seen something or might remember something. So this is a super sad case. I cannot believe that the parents have shut down the website. I find that really disheartening. Considering, you know, Sean was found after 4 years, and that's one of the most popular cases on my channel. I know I bring him up in a lot of my videos, but the reason I started with that case is because he brought so much hope to so many families, and like I said, the younger a child is from being kidnapped, the more chance of survival rate they actually have. And even though the parents didn't listen to the Portugal police about not going to the media, you know, she was never found, but then again, they were right by the ocean. It's a very, very easy to drop a body in the ocean and no one ever see it, which makes me, like, super suspicious and super stressed out about the fact that her parents may have done it and they still just aren't being held accountable, and they still have 2 babies that they're raising. And in the interviews I've watched of them, they don't seem very distressed. I mean, yeah, they are upset, but I have watched so many interviews and researched so many cases of parents who didn't do it, and they are just so much more raw and emotional, and the Mccans just seem to really have it together and try to, like, look their best on camera, which I don't really think is the purpose of being on media, if you're going to be on media because your child's missing, who gives a shit what you look like? You know, make a statement, let people know, get it out there, like, never stop doing interviews, make sure that your voice is heard, make sure people know. And for her to go missing on vacation is just so crucial. This is one of the hugest cases in the world. It was worldwide, it was international, because, you know, they lived in the UK, but their baby went missing in Portugal, and it's just, I wish I had more to tell you guys. I wish I had more to discuss with you guys. I just really hope that one day Madeleine comes home, or that one day her family gets closure. All I can do is pray and hope that her parents truly had nothing to do with this disappearance of this gorgeous little girl. That is really all the information that we have on this case. Of course, there are timelines. Of course, there are photos of the balcony. Of course, there are reports and interviews and investigations, but all the information that I have compiled together, I only told you guys the relevant information in my opinion. Of, like, there is other information, but it really doesn't have to do with the solving of the case. It really doesn't have to do with, like, the crime thinking and just, like, the solving of the case. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that this reaches someone, and I hope, you know, one day Madeleine can be brought back to her family, because this is absolutely tragic. This happens all the time. I really dislike filming the outros of this video because I don't think that I do enough justice for these kids, and I wish I could do more. And so I'm, you know, one day when my platform's bigger and we're able to raise money for Thorn, we will be able to reach a lot more people. We'll be able to have a lot more resources and hopefully, you know, spread and share a lot more of these missing people cases. As for now, Madeleine is still missing, and there are absolutely zero leads and evidence to help find or bring her home. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.